Seriously, take two, folks. It's just been that kind of day. It's been that kind of day. I've got doing the thyroid reset launch today, and it's just been that kind of day. So either way, I'm back. I have a Facebook poll question for you, okay? I'm going to give you the question at first in case you are popping on to this live at the very beginning, and then if you want to stay and hear the story, then you could stay and listen to the story. The Facebook poll question is that I want an answer to. Place the answer in the comments. Is what is your number one, your number two reservation about doing labs? About doing these types of labs where you're talking about parasites, hormone, like truly understanding what is not working in your body. What is your number one or number two reservation about doing these? Okay, so write that in the comments below. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I've heard them all. And in fact, every single time I hear them, I get so incredibly surprised. Because for me, when I did the labs on myself, and we're talking about very unconventional labs. We're talking about stool test and dried urine test and food sensitivity test and looking at blood chemistry levels in a whole nother way. And I mean, tests that you don't find in your doctor's office, and and your doctor doesn't even know how to interpret them. So we're talking about futuristic medicine here. And so when I got to doing these tests, I was never nervous. I was never nervous about what I was going to find out. Good, bad, nothing. That's my personality, is I wanted to know, right? Yeah, right here. Oh, never mind. When you're on the video, it works that way. Good. Okay. So yes. So in the comments below, write down your number one reservation or number top two or whatever. Anyways, I wasn't nervous about finding out my results. I wanted to know. And I'm telling you right now, I'm a fitness specialist of 2 decades, and my results of my tests, and I've run, at the time I ran 5 right out of the gates. They were the worst that the board that I was working with, the team that I had worked with, had seen in a while. I am a fitness specialist of 2 decades. So technically I was the most unhealthiest person they had seen in a while, and here I was teaching people how to be healthy. Like literally they just looked at me and should have just said, "You're a big fat fraud at what you do. Like, what are you doing?" And I was okay with it. I was like high-fiving people. I was like, yes, we figured this out. We're going to get it, and it's going to be good, and it's going to be awesome. Fine, whatever. I didn't, it wasn't a waste of time, money, or energy. Hell yes. And so that was my attitude about it. And so as a coach, you get kind of sideways and you think that should be everybody's attitude, right? Well, I started coaching more and working with more patients, and I was coming to find out, no, not even close. Like, I was the weird one. I was the one that was not normal. I can't disclose my patients' stories without their permission, except for my husband. I do have his permission. And so when I started working with Miller, there was a lot of resistance at first, and I couldn't figure out why. And so finally, being the great wife that I am, I just sat down with him like, what the flip is the deal? And of course, in his frustration with me, I don't usually talk to my patients that way, but with my husband, of course. And I was like, God, what's going on? Why are we doing this about this? And he was like, I didn't want to know. I didn't want to know the answers. I didn't want to know this. I didn't want to know what was on that food sensitivity test. I don't want to have to give up those foods. I just wanted to not know. And at first I was like, almost like, how dare you? Like, your health affects me, dude. It affects our children. I'm like, how dare you? And I almost took it personal. I'm like, why would you not want to know? And when I calmed myself down and really decided to ask him and dig a little bit deeper into finding out, it just was scary. It just was scary. It was scary, and then there was a sense of accountability, and there was a sense of overwhelming, and dudes aren't really good about, laying that out there anyway, and so once I dragged that out of him, and then as a coach, I had to step back, and I had to be like, okay, you have to decide for yourself that you're okay with finding out this information, that you are accountable to this information once you find it out, and that you have a choice whether to do something about it or not, but that you've got to be okay with that in order for this to work. And I don't know, he put out the best love letter to me, and I just dropped it in an email. I think you got it last night. And then he put it out in a post, and then I put it on my website about his results. And 6 months 4 months that working with him, when it finally clicked, when he finally was okay with the fact that in his eyes, maybe he was more broken than he wanted to be, when he was okay with that, is when his results went, he just started feeling better. He started being able to stabilize his weight. He has an opposite issue as what I do. Again, the reason why you would want to do individualized testing. So much happened for him, and there was a huge shift. And that was my experience with him. And then today, I was texting back and forth with a client of mine that's done labs. Okay. She just got through done labs. She has talked to several people, and I was talking to a friend of hers, and we were talking about mutually about what this person's reservations. And she said she's embarrassed. And I was like, what? Embarrassed about what? She said she is embarrassed about what you might find on those tests. And I was like, are you, what? Like, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm protected by, she's protected by HIPAA laws. I'm not going to say anything. And she was like, no, she's just embarrassed that you'll know this about her, that it will actually be in the open. And my brain goes, just like it did with Miller, was like, well, I know, but you can't do anything about it if you don't know. But then as I stood back and remembered that at some point, she has to get to the point where the struggle she faces every day by having these issues, whether anybody knows about them or not, has to become so overwhelmingly to overpower this feeling of embarrassment. And no one can talk her into this. No one can help her decide for her. She has to reach that point internally in herself that no matter what she finds out on this test, she has to be emotionally and mentally prepared for it. And again, today, and so that's why I want to know. I want to know what stops you, like reservations about finding out this information. That was one that made me embarrassed. Miller said he didn't want to know because he would then have to be accountable to it. I've heard people say that they didn't want to have to give up certain things that they enjoy, food or whatever. And here's the thing, and this is the honest and brutal truth, and this I was able to say eventually to Miller, is that they didn't want to know because then they no longer could use their symptoms or their struggle as an excuse. I say this all the time with PMS. PMS is not a rite of passage. We as women do not have to have PMS symptoms at all. Like, it is literally not in the human biological makeup for us to have them. We have them as a direct result of something breaking down in the body. But if I rid you of those PMS symptoms, what will you use as an excuse every single month to really not handle whatever you got, whatever life's throwing at you? And I did have to come to terms with that. I did have to come to terms with the fact that I could no longer say that, oh, my period's so heavy that I can't work out today. Or I'm sorry that I'm just really irritable today. So because I'm on my period, and that furthered me to understand that a lot of people are so use their symptoms or their struggle as their identity, and they don't even realize it. I have Crohn's. That's an identity, or I have bloating or constipation or whatever. That's an identity. And people, honestly, including myself, including Miller, including many of my other patients, are hiding behind that. And a lot of times they will resist me right off the bat because they don't know how to not hide behind it because they've hid behind it for so long. Does that make them bad? Hell to the no. It doesn't make you bad. It makes you normal, makes you human, makes you all these different things. But once you come to the terms that you want a new identity, as uncomfortable as that is, once you come to terms with that, then all health breaks loose. And I'm not kidding you. Inside your body, you begin to manifest and you begin to discover healing. And it happens every time, regardless of, the information. The information only helps you get to where you're going to go. The lab results only help you get to where you want to go. But you do have to come to terms that you're not going to hide behind your identity of being on the struggle bus with your health, because you've been on it for so long, you don't know any other way to be, you know? It's just a way of talking. So again, I know this was a long one. That's why I put the question at the very beginning of the video. And that is, if you will leave me a comment and tell me what your number 1, number 2 reservation is with doing or finding out the information from these specific unconventional labs. Literally, you know, what is causing the breakdown or the dysfunction in your body? Parasites, hormonal imbalance, micronutrients, or liver dysfunction, or whatever. What is your biggest, deepest reservations that you can say? And then, if you have time, obviously go back and watch through the video and listen to people that have had some of the same reservations as you. And I can honestly say I was not one of them, but I had gone to the point that I had been to enough doctors, and I was fed up. You guys, I was so fed up, and I was losing everything. I was losing my children. I still tear up. I was losing my relationship with my kids. I was losing my relationship with my husband, and I was losing my business that I had worked for since I was 17 years old. And I was losing my life, like who I was. And so it was just affecting me on so many different levels. So I had reached the point that any nugget that told me, you know, why I wasn't, you know, why I couldn't fix it. Anything that told me that, I was just soaking it in. I didn't care if someone told me. I'm telling you, I was at the point, I didn't care if someone told me that I had to cut off my right ear in order to heal. I probably would have done it. You know? So that was the difference in my story. But if you listen to Miller's story and that other client that I talked about and her friend, and the idea that she was she's still so consumed with the fact of being embarrassed of what I might even find out, just me and her, that still is so overwhelming to her. And coming to terms with that. And then finally, you got to give up your identity of having health issues because you're hiding behind those, because they're a safe place. They're a normal place now because you've dealt with it for so long. And this will only work once you do that. I'm not saying that you'll miraculously be healed once you determine that, but you will be less resistant to the process. That can help you. Okay, so I'm going to go and share this with somebody that would want to comment, that wants to know more. Start sharing, because that's how I knew about this, is that somebody shared with somebody who texted me, who then told me what somebody else said about their reservations. And I was like, wow, this was so insightful to me. Thank you so much. A lot of people are afraid to give reservations because they're afraid that I'm going to take them personal or someone like me or whatever. And in this case, no, now I will look at you and say, girl, you got to deal with that, but with my clients and my patients, I help them deal with it too. So, okay, I got to really go. I got to go jump in the thyroid reset group now. Okay, bye. Peace out.